Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of In the Spotlight. Tonight we have joining us Amelia Ann, who's going to be talking to us about being divine and human, becoming fully alive through creativity and surrender. During meditation on June 2019, Amelia got the intuitive nudge to commit to herself and her growth in an entirely different way, to create something every day for 100 days. Over 500 days later, she's still creating every day, from dance and movement, poetry and short stories, videography and video editing, songwriting, cartooning, painting, doodling, cooking, graphic design, collages, stick art, macramé, embroidery, martial arts, digital art, and photoshopping, creating skits, learning how to sing and play the guitar, photography, and spoken word pieces. Now she is taking all that she has learned, coupled with her empathic and energetic sensitivities, to help others to activate their own creativity, to assist in their own brilliant unfolding and the discovery of magic. Like, how crazy is all of that? Like, the most creative person I know, I think. So
It's
welcome.
really thank you. Every time it builds so much energy every time it's said. It's like, and also this, and also this. And it's just like, oh my gosh, it's so many things. Like it's so many things. And so I always think I just need a moment to integrate I don't know. It feels like everything unfolds one thing at a time. So when you say it all like that, you're just like, oh, like a lot it reminds you of everything. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Have you always been a creative person? Like, obviously, you didn't just kind of come out into the world and just know how to do everything that has been listed off,
No.
but has the creativity always been there for you?
Yeah, in certain ways, yes, and in certain ways, also no. I I was very fortunate to have parents that encouraged a lot of trial and error when it came to hobbies. Like growing up, it was kind of like a running joke that we'd we'd try something new and we'd buy all like the tools or the equipment for it, and then I'd be like, yeah, I don't want to do this. you know, like horseback riding, right? Like we just bought the gloves and then I was like, this is way too bouncy. I don't I'm not into it. So who knows? Maybe that'll come back around at some point. But they were always very encouraging of, I mean, a lot of just exploration, creativity, and also weirdly a lot of technical stuff too. Like my dad was really pro we got computer games every month, growing up, and he was kind of always like try new things, like a very Miss Frizzle. Do you,
That's
know?
awesome.
Yeah, make mistakes, get messy, and which I mean, in saying this, it makes it sound like I was a child that did try a lot of things, but I also grew up extremely afraid of everything and also extremely perfectionistic and self-critical and that ended up playing very much into certain times during high school where I quit everything. I was taking a bunch of dance classes and then there was one day where my body wasn't doing what I wanted it to do in a ballet class and I just walked out and never went back. And just and then I got I missed out on so many years of being able to do something I really enjoyed because of that. So but yeah, just slowly over time, my dad bought me Photoshop in high school, and I would just play with seeing what my hair looked like in different colors. I'm like, would I look good with dark hair or would I look good with, and so yeah, just and he's so sneaky, he's like, maybe this will be a marketable skill later, sneaky dad thing. So and then that kind of unfolded into a very strange synchronicity that got me into photography. Um, Actually, this is one of my favorite stories. Do we have time?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. We have
There
time.
we
We've got an
go.
hour.
Do we have time for this? But yeah, I have been playing around in Photoshop, and there was one day that I went to the dentist, and the dental hygienist, for some reason, was like, they always talk to you a lot while you're getting your teeth work done, and you're always like trying to answer and you can't really. It's weird. But she asked me what I was interested in, and I said Photoshop and photography, even though like I had barely even done. I mean, I had like a little digital camera. Um, and uh, she was like, "Oh, there's this photographer I know. You have to connect with her. She's the best." So like I was like, okay, and I was like college age Amelia, like, or maybe late high school. Like me calling strangers at that time was like, that's like anxiety, that's social anxiety. So but she gave me this phone number for this photographer, and I actually did call her, but like I didn't know why I was calling her. Like, why? I'm just like, hi, my dental hygienist gave me your phone number. Do you need something, or should we should we hang out? I don't know what to say, but then she ended up actually calling me back, and we decided that I should come in for a job interview. So like that was like okay. And then I ended up doing Photoshop work for her, but then she ended up becoming like a huge mentor of mine because she was like a brilliant artist, and like would lend me all of her photography equipment and like let me use her studio. And so I got to play with stuff that I wouldn't have normally had access to um, because of my dental hygienist. So like, that was like actually a very pivotal moment. That branched out into a lot of things that ended up being really important in my life. So yeah, again, there's been phases of like being creative. And then I did have my own photography business for a while too. But then I'd kind of just dropped everything for a bit and was working for other people. I actually I worked at a law firm for a while. I worked at another personal development company, and doing my own stuff had kind of fallen off. Um, and it was in June of 2019 that I had this feeling, or this like kind of idea pop into my head while I was meditating, that I should commit to doing something creative every day for 100 days, which felt scary. Like that felt like what? Like I don't know what that means. I don't know what uh like I don't even have one idea in mind yet. Like it's not like I had everything planned and was like, yeah, this is no problem. But I could feel the excitement in that too, and yeah, and that's kind of where it began of like, no, like I had gotten in such a pattern of really doing a lot of things for other people that I wanted to do something that felt like um, it was for me and for my growth and expressing what I wanted to express, and not just like, I mean, again, helping others is beautiful and like it's so fun, but it's really nice to get to express yourself as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So yeah, that's kind
So,
of the long the long road back, but yeah.
no, I love that. And would you say then, so it was June 2019. We're coming up on 2 years of June 2019, which is
Yeah.
crazy. But when you say like becoming fully alive through creativity, have you
Mm.
found yourself shift in some major ways in just like
Oh
the
my
past year
gosh.
and a half from committing to that?
Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes. So first, like this is like some of my favorite stuff, but just like even just the first day, like I committed, and then a poem downloaded into my brain that day. And that had never happened before. Like writing hadn't been a big at least art, expressive writing hadn't been a thing. So that was like a new experience of like, oh, like and I felt it, like I was still, I think it was maybe in that same meditation, I can't remember, it's been a while now, but like I was just sitting quietly and I watched it download, and line by line I knew exactly what it was, and then I opened my eyes, went to the computer and just typed it, and it was just a thing, and it was like, okay. Like that was a new experience. And then the next day I was listening to a song that was like so beautiful. And there was like this one section where it just kind of got like really dreamy, flowy, and had a beautiful build to it. And I was like, there's just this like thought of like, I wonder, I feel like would fit, like that poem I wrote yesterday would fit perfectly over this little piece of music. And so I spoke it over it, and it like like a every up and down, it was just like next level. Like I was like, okay. And so I recorded it. And then I was like, I don't know, I think I could like make a dance to this. And so then like I made a dance that was expressing the thing that was in the song. And then I was just like, within like by day 3, I'd made my favorite thing I'd ever made. You know? And I was like, okay, I don't know like what, I have like 97 more days to go. Like I don't know what's next. Like what could possibly be more than having already made my favorite thing to date. So so it was weird. And so then that really brought back in like this, you know, I, I've been basically talking about creativity as like a spiritual practice or just a personal growth practice. And so it brought back like, okay, like even if you made your favorite thing ever yesterday, like today's a new day, and you get to like completely let go of the past, and also completely let go of like ideas of the future, and like just like it's actually a crazy practice to like really be able to like let go of what you made the day before, and also let go of trying to think what going to do tomorrow. And uh yeah, so that was just like the first couple days. And then there would just be this like the funniest things too, like I'd look at the album as like because I'd post everything to social media or to Facebook in an album. And like in the first 100 days, I noticed that there was like color scheme changes as I went on. Like it all started out really gray and black and white, and then like as I went on, like more color came in, which is just like a weird like, oh, that's interesting. And I started changing the types of clothes that I wore in real life too. Like I'd always wear gray, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I think green would be good. And like, so it's just like little symbols of expression in other ways. But then also um yeah, like sharing things that felt edgy to me, you know. I remember pretty early on too, like there was a piece that I shared that like made me really nervous to share because it was the first um, personal thing I'd shared about like meeting a boy that I really liked.
I
Uh,
actually think I remember that one.
yeah.
Was it like a video letter to him?
Video, you know, there's been other boys.
Okay. I might be thinking of a different one
Yeah,
then, because the
there's
one that
yeah,
I'm thinking of was very powerful. And I think
yeah.
everybody who listened to it, or for myself at least,
Yeah,
it was like we've all experienced that kind of love loss at
yeah,
some point in our lives, and
yeah.
it captured me so beautifully. So sorry, go on with your
Yeah,
story.
no, that one was like my whole heart, the one you're talking about. The one early on,
Okay.
like the one early on paved the way to share things at that level,
Yeah.
But I remember just like even just saying that like I was interested in someone or like sharing, it was almost felt like sharing like a diary entry or something. And again, I remember the anxiety of sharing it, or the vulnerability. And then, as the time went on, like uh, it began to be so much more comfortable to share things that felt personal, at like way more personal than the first thing. So, um, and of course, the things that are personal tend to resonate with a lot of people too. Like you're just like,
Yeah.
oh wow, like she talked about that. It's like I did talk about that. And like yeah, it just there'd be projects where I'd look back on it and it didn't even feel like it was me. Like I couldn't even believe like my brain actually still can't even wrap around it. Like I look at it and I can obviously logically tell that it's me. You know, like yeah, that's me. But um, there was like one. Like the first time that really happened was again fairly early on. It's somewhere between like probably days 40 and 60 or somewhere around there. Um, Maybe even earlier than that. Where I had really wanted to make a dance video in the rain, and it just kept not lining up the way that I wanted it to. Like I had a vision, and like I missed the rain because of a work project, and then we'd gone. My friend Andrew and I had gone out to. Well, really, I ran into him at a ecstatic dance on the rocks, which is a thing that happens here in Sedona. And again, this was like pre everything else, so people were still gathering. But I ran into him there, and then like we could see thunderstorms in the distance, and I was like praying for rain because I had brought my camera just in case, but it like didn't happen. And then the sun went down, and as we're walking back down the trail, it starts to sprinkle, and I'm like, like it's dark outside now. What are we gonna like? And then I was like, Andrew, would you be down to like hop in and do kind of a spontaneous creative project with me? And he was like, sure. And I was like, I think if we both turn on our car headlights and we backlight the rain, like it'll, and if you hold an umbrella over my camera and like make sure the speaker doesn't get wet, like it might actually look really cool. And we filmed we filmed this video, right? And like uh to this song called Rain. And I gave it like 110%, right? And I was already tired because we'd already been dancing. Like and then he was like, and I'm like, I think I'm like laying on the pavement at the end. I'm like so tired. And he's like, um, it didn't record. And I was just like, okay. Okay. And we ended up filming two more times, and like there was something either wasn't right, or then like on the third one, like I was really tired on the third one, and he was just like, you know, like I that was really good, but I think you can do more. And I was like more than, like what does that even mean? And so um we filmed a fourth take, which is get like I could feel like uh just like the pushing, or the overcoming of belief systems, in that process. And the fourth take like was just like magic. And and I like, and again, I didn't even know though. So like we did it, and I gave it, and he was like, that was like incredible, like we got it. And I was like scratched up from the pavement, and like like my knees hurt. I was just like, okay, like I'm tired. I hurt all over. and and I sent him a photo of like my feet all scratched up later, and I was like, what the, like come on. And he was just like, well, have you watched the video back yet? And I was like, no, I haven't. He's like, watch it, like it'll be like you'll know why that was worth it. And when I watched it, I was just like who is that, like who, like like I was like my brain was breaking because it didn't even like, I don't know how that happened. Like, or how it ended up um I don't know, being so cool. And that's happened multiple times where there's been like, it's especially with the dance videos and sometimes with painting. It's just like I can't understand what, or sometimes it feels like there's like this like flow, or this just like ease where like I'm not even consciously making the decisions of like what happens next. And so then watching it back is very strange. You're just like that, oh, okay, that like that's what happened. That was incredible. And So yeah, but it's those experiences that get me like obviously very hyped up because I am talking so much until I'm like, and this was awesome, and this was awesome. And but there's like more examples of that than I can count actually, or at least like tell you in detail, because I'm like, oh yeah, and that happened here, and this one happened, but it was like in a interesting flavor, and it's just
I always find it so interesting with creativity because you can focus so hard on trying to get something to go the way that you think it should be going.
mm-hmm,
But then it's like in that moment of surrender,
mm-hmm,
you're suddenly creating something even better than what you ever could have
absolutely.
even imagined.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that is definitely something that at least when I talk about it, or when I think about it, about creativity, that is just abandon the plan. Abandon the plan, because the plan is probably not even as good as like what could happen. um but like sometimes it takes the idea or the vision or the plan to get you to show up to the thing for the
Yes.
magic to happen. So like it's like weird. Like you need an idea to like go to the thing, but then you also like once you get there, basically just let go of the idea. You're like, oh, I have an idea for a painting. Then you get the canvas out. You're like, never mind. Then you just start painting. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. Like there was this one time recently where I was just like, oh, I want to make this light painting that's like all white and really bright. And at the end, I have this like really dark, like, like cracked earth, like not at all. Like I was like, how? Like I really didn't like, and it's cool looking, but it's not. It's not what I intended. So
That's awesome. You do have someone asking if you would be able to show the video. So I'm just wondering if after we're done the live, if you could send me the link to that video
for
and I
sure.
can post it into the comments so people can
Yeah,
watch it.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh my heart, yeah. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So when it comes to the creativity and stuff, do you ever find yourself getting blocks? Because anytime I talk to people about creativity, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not creative. I don't do this kind of
Mhm.
thing. So if you yourself receive blocks, then how do you help people to kind of work through that? Or what do you, I guess, advise people to do to help
Mhm.
themselves work through whatever creative blocks they might be experiencing?
Absolutely. Um yeah, okay, so this is a weird but very truthful experience. It's just like in the first 100 days, um I didn't feel blocked. Actually, first 200 days, I didn't feel blocked at all. And I
That's
was
awesome.
actually like, I was, I was actually very adamant that like, I've heard people talk about creativity before, like it's hard work and you're lucky if the divine shows up every once in a while. And like you just got to show up and muscle through it, and maybe sometimes that shows up. And I was like, I don't know if that's true. Like I think like I
Yes,
think
challenge that belief
I
system.
don't know if that's true. Like why can't you feel, really happy and connected all the time? And So like I had that for a while. And then what was interesting is as soon as I committed to helping other people unlock their creativity, that's when the blocks came up. I think
Of course.
I think the universe was like, hey, like you need to experience some of these things so that you can like move through them and actually like in more of a grounded way be like, okay, like yes, like I have definitively hit this block and this block and this one and this one and this one. And this is how I worked through it. So I feel like lucky to have generally had the awareness that it was probably because I had made the commitment to help others that like the blocks were coming up a little bit more. Um, so so since then, uh, okay, I've become very aware lately, and I've said this before, but I will say it here, is that sometimes you don't know why a recipe works until you take out one of the ingredients that is really important. And then you take out the ingredient and you're like, ah, that was really important in the recipe. Like this doesn't work without cashews. Like, so um I the cashews of creativity are is meditation. Like, and I know that you've spent a lot of time in meditation, or at least I'm pretty sure you have. And so the idea to do creativity came out of a meditation. And so, in those first 200, so crazy, big numbers, those first 200 days, I was meditating fairly consistently, um, sometimes up to 2 hours a day. And yeah, and so then I kind of was like, oh, like I'm in flow, I don't, it's fine. Or like this practice kind of replaces it, or this like, and it would slowly kind of start like waning a little bit. But I just find that I've re-brought it back in, and then yesterday, like yesterday, a whole children's book downloaded out of the and I was like, this is and I was like crying, like, and so but it's like my like specific kind of flavor of meditation is one that's more focused on receiving, right, and more on like receiving um insight. Often like I'll say like little prayers that like I am like intending to be an open channel for creativity, or for the divine. And those kind of overarching intentions tend to support the whole process, right? And also the like the blocks get easier to work through if the intent, like if your intention is bigger than the block. Um, so yeah, I don't know if I need to explain that more, but yeah. So it just if it's like like again, my intention to be an open channel for creativity and for the divine is like, okay, like perfectionism comes up, but then I have the ability to be a space for that a little bit more, because it's like that actually feels small in comparison to this, like, no, like I'm reaching for like aliveness, or I'm reaching for this, or I'm reaching for that, and like I can work through these little dust particles of of blocks along the way. And Yeah, so meditation, focusing on receiving intentions, um, and then yeah, and again, blocks. I've noticed also with people that blocks tend to show up um, most often when they have a plan or they have a vision. Um, so
Yes.
so release the vision or the plan, at least temporarily. Like it's like it feels like it's kind of like building a muscle. Like maybe you can work up to having a vision or a plan, like, but like if you're like rehabilitating your creativity, start like, because I feel like people like reach for such big goals immediately sometimes, right? Like it's just like they're like, yeah, I want to be more creative, and then if it's not a masterpiece right away, or it's not profound, like it was like, ah, I'm not good at this. And if I've seen anything, especially in my own work, like I always used to be really hard on my writing, and I mean, like in like stark contrast, I know in high school and middle school, like I just sat at like blank computer screens where I was supposed to be writing something for a creative writing class and just like cried and like looked at the blank screen for hours, right? And so, and like I remember my dad coming in and like and he'd say something and I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna type what you said. What did you like? Wait, so slow down. Like, how did you say that? And like wanted to just translate verbatim what he said. And so you know, again, like that's like really far back contrast. But then even in starting the creativity process, you know, I probably was still hard on myself a little bit of like, I feel like I was repeating similar words a lot, you know, like I had my favorite words and or like didn't quite capture what I wanted to say, but like I couldn't think too much about it because I had a commitment, right? Like I gotta like, you know, I gotta post something. So but I find that over time it's like you start to have like access to, and it's just like repetitive, like making yourself familiar with the process. I can feel that I have access to more words or more ways of expressing myself, and it flows a lot easier. Like I still think I still use the same words a lot, but like I also care less about it too, which is weird. Like I'm like, like, yeah, I use the word flow again. Like I use the word essence and perspective a lot, or or the word divine. You know,
Yep.
but it also like give freedom too. Like there's this poet I love, um, Muntafiz. He was like a poet, like a Sufi poet, far away in the past, and I read a ton of his poems, and I was like, he uses the same words sometimes, and he is like one of the most beloved poets of all time. So, like, so if he can say, it's like we make such weird rules for ourselves, right? Like, oh, you can't say the same word twice. Like, come on. Like, what are we make up weird blogs too, you
Yeah,
know, we're not all
absolutely.
logical. So um yeah, does that feel, I probably could talk about blogs a lot, so I don't know if there's any specific ones or anything.
Nobody's asking anything about specific blocks right now, but if anyone does, then I will absolutely bring that up. Um, one thing, because I know I'm taking your 30-day creativity uh, class right now, and one thing that I've really appreciated is finding creativity everywhere. And so I haven't been posting a whole lot, but a lot of what's been coming up for me is just different little ditties of songs. And it's not a complete song yet,
Mhm.
but it's just little bits. But just around the house and stuff too, there's like, oh, I'm going to move this plant here and I'm going to put this crystal, like I'm redecorating things. I'm like, I don't know, taking more pictures of just random things. And
Mm.
because of the process that you're leading us through, it's again, it's showing you don't have to be this master at what it is that you're creating in any way whatsoever. And I think I've got a bit of that perfectionist too. Like, if I'm going to sit down and be creative, then there better be a plan in place and you better, and that cuts out all creativity altogether, you know?
Mhm.
But just in this process of showing up every day and just going, okay, I'm open to being creative. My intention is to connect with my divine creativity and witness the possibilities within me. And so every day I read that. It's up here in my office. This is why I looked over there. And it's amazing the amount of creativity I've been tapping into just in the 9 days that we've been working on it.
Mhm. Oh, I love that. I love that. And that does seem like, you know, I started doing those groups last April, and so what you're in group 13. So I've done 13 groups, done
Yeah.
13 small groups with people, and that like that seems to be the core thing, like, or at least one of the core things that people receive from it is like, especially people who didn't think they were creative. They're like, oh, this counts. And you're like, yeah. Yeah, like my mom has taken the course a couple times, which is really sweet. And you know, it even shows up in just the littlest things. Like yesterday, she was like, "Oh, like I bought chip clips at the store." And I'm gonna use them to like clip shut the openings of her gloves that like that she leaves outside, so that like scorpions and spiders and little critters don't get into them. But like it's just a chip clip, right? And like and I was like, that's genius. Like otherwise, like you're sticking your hand into something that you don't know if there's any creepy crawlies in there. But yeah, it's just like um and there's something that's just so fun in those small creative things as well. Like even just today, even just today, um, uh, my, it's like yeah, it's like half synchronicity story, half creativity story. But my mom had gone and bought placemats at Goodwill because she like really wanted placemats, and but she really needed like 8 placemats, but she bought some temporary ones that only had like three of them. And I came out and I looked at the table and I was just like, I like those placemats. I want them for my room to go underneath my plants to make like a little, like or like and also in this little cozy spot in my closet where I have kind of like a little like sacred objects, cute space, altar kind of vibe. And I was like, I want those placemats and I want them for my room. you know? And I'm like looking at them like as I go by every time. I'm like, all right, I need to get her some new placemats so I can have these placemats. Um, and and then like an Amazon package showed up with placemat mats in them because she had forgotten that she had already ordered other placemats. So in like the right amount. And so then she was like, oh, I guess these are yours. I was like, yes, yes. And
That's
like
awesome.
and they already have their little homes, but just just putting the placemat on this little coffee table kind of thing in front of me, and then putting the little plant on it and the little headphone holder thing that I found. And it just I don't know, but it like that's creativity and it like matches, and I'm like, I feel like so happy about it. It's like, this is cute, I like it. And yeah, that might be my creative project for today. I could just keep it simple. you know?
Well, I think that's a great part about it too, because I feel as though over time, like I know for myself when I was like in high school and stuff, I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to sing and be the big star, win the Grammys, whatever. And then you kind of get to this age where it's like, well, you have responsibilities and you
Mm,
have to pay the bills and you have to whatever. So being a musician just didn't seem to be like the appropriate choice at the
mm,
time. And it was okay too. Like it's not like I'm regretting that or anything, but
mhm,
I feel like so often with creativity, it's like, well, is it going to pay the bills?
mm,
How much
mhm.
are you going to make from it? Do you know what I mean? And so it almost kills the creative drive that a lot of people have, is because it's like it has to be this certain way or you have to be able to
Yeah.
make money from it. Otherwise, it's just not really the point. And
Mhm,
I love in this process of just kind of tapping in and not going, this is what the project is today, but this is
mhm,
how I'm just going to show up today. And whatever comes out of that is perfect.
mhm. Yeah, it's almost like you're owning creativity as a quality as opposed to like an outcome, right?
Yes.
Like, oh, if I'm and that's where the fulfillment comes in, right? Like it's actually strange because like there's a lot of unfulfilled creative people. you know they're out there and they're sad, like they're writing their stuff. And so like um speculation, but like maybe like that's also if like their worth has been attached to what they're making, or like they haven't like really, it's like it's a little bit more externally focused. Did I make something that was beautiful? Did they like it? Did is this whatever, all those things, or versus like, oh, like I'm just enjoying the process of being creative, and finding the like the beauty, again, finding the beauty in things, like. And yeah, there's just like, it's like a self-fulfilling joy, and it's not so much dependent on the
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I know for myself, when I'm, say, playing music, or if I'm writing, or if I'm painting, if I think, oh, I wonder what people will think of this, it's like
Yeah.
the moment it goes,
Mhm.
it's just like it's gone, But as long as I'm doing it for like a self-fulfilling,
Mhm.
I guess, fulfillment,
Yeah.
self-fulfilling fulfillment,
Self-fulfilling. Yes,
then it just
I got
seems
you.
to flow. I'm glad you understand.
Yeah. It's a thing for sure. Yeah. And again, and that's what ties it back into like, oh, creativity as, you know, as a spiritual practice, or as a self-growth or expansive like consciousness adventure. You know, it's like that's a completely different journey than just like trying to be good at something. You know, you're like, when you're showing up, you're like, when you get to see the blocks or meet those different aspects of yourself that um, sometimes are really hard to look at, right? Too, you know, it's just like, okay, like, yeah, like this is the, like this is not an obstacle, it's the point. Like this is why I'm actually kind of doing it to get to the, get like, it's a, maybe we should be more excited when we hit blocks. You know, it's like, yeah, I'm doing it right. You know, like because if you're not, yeah, maybe if you're not like growing in some ways, then yeah, it just depends on, so it all flows in strange ways. Sometimes it's like it's beautiful when you're blocked, and it's beautiful when you're not. You know, it's like
Yes.
it's not a, it's not like, oh, I should be blocked or I shouldn't be blocked. It's just like, it's just
Yeah, just kind of
how it
accepting
unfolds.
yourself where you're at.
Yeah, yeah. And again, some days like I know I've taken pictures of myself sleeping on the couch. Like, I'm tired. This is who I am today. Like I can't sing a song. I have to, this is what I look like right now. You know? But there's like so much like another interesting like tweak to creativity too is like I found that um you know, for me, like the most mm, like healing or again fulfillment or joy comes from expressing what I'm feeling, or expressing what I'm going through in some way. And what's interesting is sometimes you think you're expressing what you're feeling, but you're not. um, for example, um, often what's actually coming up to be expressed is how you feel about the creative project itself. It's not it's not the thing, it's how you feel about the thing. So probably my best example of that is, for a while there I had like a ton of ideas. I was like, I want to share about like these crazy dreams I keep having about the ocean. Like I want to share about like how I feel about this and how I feel about this. And it was all like things I really was experiencing and feeling. But the list kept getting longer, you know, of like all of the things that were kind of like backlogged, or like, oh yeah, I want to tell this story, I want to, you know, do this. And then I was like, wait, really what I'm feeling is that I have a lot to say.
Mm.
um and like, and so then I created a piece called The Things I Want to Tell You. And it just like I put it to music and I did a thing, but like it just had all of the things in it. And then it was just one thing that was just like, hey, yo, like I want to tell you about I want to tell you about all these things. But like when I listen to it, I get this like, oh, it's got such a vibe to it, you know. Like, it was one of the ones I love a lot. But I think I would have, you know, if I would have tried to one by one go through all those things, like I wasn't really getting to the essence of
Mm.
what one like, or of like what would have felt good to share. So yeah, and that's happened more than once where there's like, where I'm kind of like tunnel vision for a second, and then I like, if I step back, I'm like, oh, it's this, you know, oh, it's how I feel about this, or it's how it's, um, or again, and sometimes it's just about being blocked in the creative process too, you know, like, yeah, if you're blocked, write about being blocked, you know, or paint about being blocked. Like, what does the block look like, you know, and then you can like move past it, because like as long as you're trying to reach past what you're authentically experiencing, I think that's where the tension comes in, you know. You're just like, no, I'm supposed to be creating, like I'm supposed to be creating this beautiful thing, but like you're actually not feeling beautiful at all, you're feeling like frustrated or angry. So that's what needs to be expressed. So like
Mm.
express the block, and then maybe the other thing will happen, or maybe something else will come through, you know. So,
Oh, that's
yeah.
awesome. I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, go figure.
Yeah, important things. Important. You
Very
know, if you
important.
do, yeah, if you do this long enough, you're like, oh, okay. Like, like you have to start getting creative about creativity too.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, how does it fit in? Like, how does it fit in today? Oh, like it just starts. It's like a rabbit hole of like a lot of fun, but also it gets a little strange, you know, in good ways. So
No, that's,
yeah.
I think that that's an absolutely beautiful, yeah. My mind is just kind of reeling right now because there's been so many times where like,
Mm,
I guess I'm trying to get to that beautiful spot,
mm,
but feeling that block and resisting the block, trying to get to that beautiful spot. But if I
mhm,
just kind of do whatever with the block,
mhm.
it makes total sense. It like,
It's
I'm
kind of
like,
like
how did I not make
it's
that
like
up?
a duh moment, you know? You're just like, oh yeah. Oh.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you're kind of
Yeah.
pushing that block away, it's just good. It's, I always see like these kind of inner thoughts and stuff as being like a child, right? And so it's
Mhm,
like, mom, 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 and I'm like, go away. I need
mhm.
time to do this
Yeah, I
thing. But
have
if
to
I stop and give it the attention, then
yeah,
it's like, oh, I got what I needed, and it just kind of quiets,
sure,
you know?
for sure. Yeah, it makes
Awesome.
there was a journal a journal I had next to my bed, and there was one night that I like I still get stuck in loops sometimes though, like no question. Like I'll sit there and I'm like, like what do I want to make today? You know, like it could be anything. I don't know. Like, and so I had this journal next to my bed. I was like, well, I should at least start. Like I should at least do something. And so I picked up the journal and I was like, I'm tired. I'm hungry. I'm bored. And then a whole poem came out after that. Like, that was like awesome and ended up being a thing. But it's just funny, like when I look at the journal, it's like I'm hungry, I'm tired, I'm bored, and then it's like poem. You know? But I couldn't have gotten to the poem part if I wouldn't have been like, you know, acknowledging the other things too.
The
And
I'm
so
hungry, I'm bored,
I'm hungry, I'm bored,
tired.
I'm tired. And then I was like, well, the yeah. Yeah, I think that was yeah, it was actually a really recent one. It was about like identity and like staying, you know, not attaching to anything, you know. And yeah, so it was just yeah, it was like, okay, like how did I go from I'm bored to, you know, to like stay identity this if you can. It's a trap. Like, you know, like, you know, and going through the whole thing. So, but yeah, it's just funny when you see it like on the piece of paper so plainly, you know, it's like, eh, like, okay, like I can't ignore that, like that was a very obvious like process that happened there. It's all on one page. It's all, you know, very clear. So,
Yeah, my mind is still kind of reeling over that concept because it's, creativity is expressing yourself.
mhm.
Like that's literally what it
What it
is.
is.
But it's like this fear of expressing yourself stops you from doing the action of actually expressing yourself. You know what I mean? Like it's,
Mhm,
I need to hide this one part of me because it might not be accepted.
mhm,
The tired, the bored, the hungry,
mhm.
but it's on the other side. Yeah, that's beautiful. I'm like, you are such a genius right now. Blown my mind open. Debbie here is saying we need to spend more time with our inner child. I will spend hours looking for a craft for my granddaughter. When I lay out the supplies, she says, "No, Grandma, I have another idea." No concern about what others will think, and it always turns out beautiful.
Oh, that's so cute. You're just like, yeah, I don't need all of this. We got this, you know? Yeah. Which also brings up, I think it's important too, we talked about creativity being small things, but it can also like, I think there's also a perception that it has to be expensive, you know?
Mm.
But the amount of sticks that I've found outside that are just cool looking sticks,
Yep.
and then like tying them together with like, yeah, with yarn and stuff. It's just like, okay, like you can just find some cool sticks or like arrange rocks. Like I made this like, yeah, like they're free, they're everywhere. Or there was another like a leaf. There's a leaf that I poked holes in like with a pin and made little designs, so it's like I also get really dorky about resources, right? And like being able to like because yeah, it's like you see beauty but you also see resources. You're like, oh, like if I take this could become this. Like it doesn't require a trip to the craft store. Often we have like plenty plenty of things, like whether they're in like closets or like clothes that you don't want anymore, or and just painting over old art. Paint, like it's like you don't like something, like paint over it. Like yeah. There's actually this painting I did again somewhat recently, probably a month ago or so, and it was a painting. It was very big, and it had been like some friends had like done a group painting together, but it was like chaos. It was just total like like it was like a like old craft paint and just like neon colors and glitter and like uh, yeah, it was just yeah. And I was looking at it and no one was using it. It wasn't like it was again, I mean, beautiful art is beautiful, but it was nothing profound. Like it was just, and yeah, it was a little chaotic. And so like I was like, that's a perfectly good canvas, and I took it and I just painted a layer over it, but the textures from all of the
Mm.
stuff underneath makes it look awesome. But you never would have known that there was like neon glitter chaos underneath underneath what's now like looks like an abstract kind of painting. But it was just a quick thing, and I just was like, huh, awesome, like that felt good. Like so yeah, I get dorky about resources for sure.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. Because I've been known to be the person who goes to Michael's and spends $200 in the trip to like load up on all of the craft supplies. And I always get inspired while I'm in there. I'm like, oh, I can learn how to do that. And I can learn how to do
Yeah. Also, pro tip, learn over time. Like, learn over time, like just little bits. Usually, I don't know, like I don't learn something every project, but every couple projects or like something, I'll be like, okay, like I can look up a couple macrame knots in a YouTube video. And then maybe I learn like 3 knots and I'm like, okay, I'm amazing. I can do this. Like, like, and then I realize that I need to practice a little more. But like, and just like applying what I know. And then like if I get to a point where I think I should learn something else, like I'll look it up. But it's not like you don't have to read the whole macrame, dictionary to be able to make macrame, or you also um yeah, and there's so many projects where I'm like, okay, like I just need to learn this one skill and like to make to do this one idea I have. And so then I'll look up the one thing. And then but then it builds over time, and then all of a sudden you're like, I can do a lot of things.
Yeah.
But it's not like I sat down for hours and like studied, or and I mean, unless that like really feels exciting to you. But like I tend to be like, okay, just give me enough so that I can like be dangerous and like do some rogue creating, and sometimes it turns out like weird, but I then I'm like, oh, maybe I need to learn some more before I really do this. But most of the time you don't need to know as much as you think you need to know to do something. It's actually often you don't need to know very much. Like, so
Yeah. And YouTube is great right now for finding if you do
everything.
have an idea for something and you're like, I have no
Yeah.
idea. It's fantastic for that.
Yeah.
Now, one question that I ask all of my speakers when they're on here is if you could give the world one piece of wisdom, what would you want the world to know right now?
Mm. Mm. I want the world to know. I want the world to know so many things. you
You can
know,
say them all.
you know. Um, hmm, hmm. Yeah, if I want the world to know one thing or a couple of things. Um, again, like I actually I've said this before too, but there's just like this feeling that's like been the most medicine for me is to, like, have someone tell me that I've got this, like it's like you've got it, like you've got everything you need. um you know and just like there's something about someone just being like, yeah, like just go for it, you got it, like your process is perfect. Like nothing about anything that's ever happened to you can't become a gift in some way. um, Even if it's like horrible and traumatic and hard, like the the healing that can come from expressing things and connecting with others can be huge. And so just like this knowing, or at least opening to the knowing that every experience you've had, every like inclination towards anything that's like drawn you towards it is like important. And that like that it's just kind of like a little adventure to see how everything locks together, and comes together, and that it all does, like it all weaves in ways that you can't really know, well, probably never really know, but like really really. But the more that you start to like look for look for the magic, or look for how things are supporting you, like the more supported you feel. Or again, even looking for the ways that like how you are is okay. Like day two in the 30 days of the creativity process is called Trust Your Process.
Yes.
um, where I talk about um, part of my process is like laying like a corpse, right? Like, like I lay, I lay, and I sit, and it doesn't look like I'm doing like a whole lot, but like there's a lot going on in here, and from the outside, I know I've people have told me or reflected that maybe it doesn't look like I'm doing a whole lot, or like, you're like, again, lazy kind of tends to float into my mind sometimes, is like past reflections, or not doing enough, or but just like really starting to get in tune with you, and like your natural inclinations, and just trusting that it's perfect and it's all part of your process, will just allow so much more ease and grace, and all of the things. Yeah, so I think that's kind of cute. That's a cute thing to say, right? Yeah. And then also don't take yourself so seriously. You can make weird things too. Like like make yeah. I made a cartoon where spiders were my boyfriend, or I thought a spider was my boyfriend because it was based on real life, right? Like it was actually, I think it was day 4 or 5 in the first one of just like in real life, I was in Sedona, and there's a spider under the counter, but I was like alone in this house for a couple weeks. So I just started calling the spider my boyfriend. Because I thought I was like getting over my fear of spiders, right? Like I'm like, okay, I'm working on this. Like we're not gonna kill it. We're gonna let him live over there, and we're gonna call him my boyfriend because I've been alone in this house for a couple weeks. And then I made a cartoon about it, like about like going around to like uh different looking real life boys and being like, are you my boyfriend? Like, are you my boyfriend? Like are you my mother kind of style? And then the last one was me looking at the spider and being like, are you my boyfriend? Like, like, are you? And they're just like, I don't know. And then, but like tuning back into self love. Um, but then after that, I found out that the spider was not only a black widow, but it was also a female black widow. So it was not my boyfriend, and she was poisonous. You know, so again, not everything has to be profound. Like you can be ridiculous, and yeah,
And I mean, there might actually be a lot of profoundness in that. That if you had stayed in your fear instead of making this spider your boyfriend and like kind of loving on it,
oh
then
yeah,
there's a good possibility that
that
things could have been very different.
that's true.
You know,
That's true. Maybe it wouldn't have gone so well for me.
I'm glad that
And
it went well.
yes, and I wouldn't have been here today. Like, you know? Good thing I thought it was my boyfriend. So yeah. So yeah. Again, that yeah. Yeah. Don't always have to be profound.
I
For
love
sure.
that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me on here tonight. If anyone is wanting to connect with Amelia Ann or even wanting to see just kind of what she's all created, the links to all of her stuff are on the description here, but I'll also throw them in the comments for you guys, or you can just head over to her website at www.emiliaann.com. And she's got a bunch of different things that are listed there that you guys can take a look at. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Thank you so much, Catherine. This is beautiful.
Thanks, Amelia.
Thank you.